Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Today we'll be looking at the case of Noel Chambers. He was a 81-year-old gentleman who died in 2019. He was placed in the system for 40 years and did not have a trial. So basically he was forgotten in the system. I must warn all viewers that if you do not have a strong stomach, these images that you'll be viewing, if you're eating, you either put the food aside or you pause. Alright? Take my word for it. In the case of Noel Chambers, on January 27, 2020, the Commission commenced an investigation into the death in custody of Noel Chambers at the Tower Street Adult Correctional Center. At the time of his death, Mr. Chambers was 81 years of old. He was incarcerated on February 4th, 1980, and had been in prison for 40 years without being tried. Can you imagine that? You're in prison for 40 years and the case was never tried. He was being held at the Governor General's pleasure, deemed unfit to plead to a charge of murder. Therefore, he was being held in custody without being convicted for an offense. I mean, having that word there, at the governor's pleasure, it appears like it's a joke thing for you to be held at someone's pleasure without being tried or found guilty or convicted of anything, yet still you're in prison for 40 years. What had happened that there had seemed to be some confusion at the Department of Correctional Services regarding whether or not Mr. Chambers was convicted. The Commissioner of Corrections in his report states that Noel Chambers was tried and convicted in the Home Circuit Court on February 4th, 1980 for the offense of murder. He was deemed unfit to plead and was held at the Governor General's pleasure. However, in the Commission's respectful opinion, he could not have been unfit to plead and convicted. So, if you are unfit to plead, you cannot be convicted of a crime because they are saying your mental state is not there. But if you are fit to plead, then you could be convicted. That's basically what it is saying. This distinction is important, as it means the difference between a person with presumption of innocence being indefinitely detained as opposed to a convicted person being so detained. I have a picture up there with what it means by being held at the governor's pleasure. What it states is that an inmate is detained at pleasure, Her Majesty's pleasure, or Governor General's pleasure, or the court's pleasure, when either children found guilty of a capital offense, persons found unfit to plead by the court, or persons found by the court to be guilty of an offense, but are adjudged by the court to be suffering from a mental disorder. So in Mr. Noel Chambers' case, what referred to him was the latter two categories. Person found unfit to plead by the court, and he couldn't be adjudged because he was suffering from mental disorder. In spite of what they had suggested about Mr. Noel Chambers, Mr. Chambers had twice received fitness for trial certificates from two different psychiatrists. The first was issued for him on October 10, 2003, and it stated, "This inmate has no history of a mental illness. Repeated mental examinations revealed that there is no mental disorder and he is therefore competent to stand trial. He is not on any medication and is not at risk to himself or anyone at this time." So here we see where what was being stated with Mr. Chambers was actually contradicted, because the psychiatrist, not only one but two, stated that he was fit for trial. So if he's fit for a trial, why wasn't he tried? Why were they adamant that he was mentally unsound? Yeah, try to answer. You try to answer that one. Alright, the second fitness certificate was in 2009. And the second one stated also that he was fit, that he wasn't mentally unfit. So in 2007 and in 2008, they had also said that he could be tried because he was mentally sound. It's just, I don't even say it's tragic. It could have been your family member, my family member, or a friend. Imagine being lost in the system. Now, I'm not saying he was innocent, nor am I saying he was guilty. What I am bringing to light is that Mr. Chambers did not have his chance or a day in court for them to decide if he was guilty or not. Unfortunately, he had died. Alright, there was a medical record that shows that on November 4th, 2019, he was examined because he was not eating well and had poor vision and flu-like symptoms. It is stated that he was admitted to Kingston Public Hospital between November 21st and 28th of 2019. It was also stated that there was a referral on file at KPH dated December 15, 2019, having shown a history of hypertension, diabetes, and cholesterol. However, there is no evidence on the file that he was taken to KPH. So it would seem that somebody is or was lying, or that somebody simply wanted to get rid of Mr. Chambers, wanted to really lose him in the system. On the night before his death, he was found unresponsive by a medical orderly and taken to KPH, and where he was pronounced dead. The cause of death given at the post-mortem examination was acute pyelonephritis, and that is known as a sudden and severe kidney infection. Mr. Chambers was found in deplorable physical condition. His clothing was filthy, and his body had showed evidence of chronic emaciation. He was covered with what appeared to be vermin bites, live bed bugs, what we Jamaicans call chink. He had also showed signs of bed sores. Now, when a person has bed sores, it could be assumed that that person has been lying in one position for a period of time and wasn't moved. Now, if a person is lying in one state for a period of time and if they aren't moved, it, it means that someone didn't take them for shower or to the bathroom. In other words, he was being neglected. The overall lack of timely and adequate medical attention, in addition to his indefinite incarceration and poor hygiene, had highlighted serious breaches of his constitutional human rights. It is quite obvious from the images shown that, as I stated before, Mr. Chambers was not being taken care of. So because persons within the penal system had deemed him mentally unsound, right? They didn't see it fit to either feed him, bathe him, take him to the bathroom or anything like that. Because looking at the images, he would appear malnourished. He looked like a mummy. Like he had been locked away for years. He was locked away for 40 years. But within the penal system, he was forgotten within the system. So he was not being cared for. You could go as far as to say that he wasn't even being fed. Right? And with signs of the bed bugs, it is quite obvious that he was not being moved at all. Saying this to say that we know that there are persons within the system. There are innocent persons within the system, right? You have guilty and you have innocent. But we should not allow Mr. Chambers' death to go in vain without crying out so that persons can change, the powers that be can change whatever is happening in the Jamaican penal system. A change must be had and it must be now. So we do need justice and we need to cry out for justice. Mr. Chambers has already passed, but there are other persons who are mentally unstable, who are within the system, and we would not like the same fate to be meted out to them. So something needs to change, and the time is now. So drop your comments, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe.